tired of leftovers.
Yeah. They're almost gone.
They gotta go.
When you thought we wouldn't have enough.
No.
You always think that.
No. I knew we were going to have enough. I just didn't want to have none.
Right. You were afraid we weren't going to have enough for leftovers. And now you're sick of them, like 4 days later.
I thought we would have plenty. It's just, well, first of all, it's a very small crowd this year.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I didn't want to go in with just individual plates.
No, I was never planning on doing that. We had plenty. The smallest turkey they had was 20 pounds.
Yeah.
We had plenty.
It's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to While She's Napping. I am Adam.
And I'm Cindy.
So it's the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Thanksgiving a little late.
Yep.
Probably people that are listening to this rather are sick of talking about Thanksgiving and turkey.
Everyone's on to the holidays now. Everyone's in Christmas mode.
Yeah, it's the most inopportune time to talk about Thanksgiving, but we're going to do it anyway. Maybe if you are all turkeyed out, you can, save this one for next year.
There you go.
Before Thanksgiving. It makes me wonder, though. And I feel this is sort of implicit. This isn't something that people necessarily talk about all the time, but when you look at the state of the world for the past, I don't know, however long, it's clear that for some reason, and maybe this is me speaking out of ignorance, everything centers around America, right? So if you're an NFL fan and you live in Australia or Ireland or wherever, and you want to watch the football games on American Thanksgiving, the time zones are all fucked up on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And it might not even be Thursday where you are, depending on where you are.
Yep.
And it's all fucked up. Starting at like noon here on the East Coast. It's just crazy. The National Football League is American-based. All the major sports are American-based, right?
I mean, yeah, but it's the National Football League of America.
Yeah, no, I get why they call it the NFL. I'm just saying the NFL is such a global phenomenon now, and so is the NBA, and so is the MLB.
Right. Like players from all over the world strive to play.
Yeah.
And right.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Because you don't see that necessarily. Maybe with soccer,
right? You
do, or football, but maybe I don't know. There's any other sport or as form of entertainment, maybe K-pop for people here, but no other form of entertainment sort of cross-pollinates from region to region or territory to territory as much as stuff is centered here in America, like films, music, everything.
And that's what you think of when
it's
you think of Thanksgiving?
mind-blowing to me. No, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Right?
But what about Thanksgiving made you think about that? The timing of the football games?
The timing of the football games, obviously it's celebrated here and it's hyped up because we're in, the muck of it. But I thought about Canadian Thanksgiving and how that's in October. And of course they celebrate it hardcore, but it's like they know about American Thanksgiving because of the NFL and stuff. And we're so close regionally. I bet you there are a fucking ton of people in America that don't know when Canadian Thanksgiving is.
Or that they even have it.
Don't even know anything about it. Right? And the fact that Black Friday is centered around after American Thanksgiving, but Black Friday is a worldwide sort of event kind of thing, I think. At least it is in Canada.
Right.
So to me, that's just crazy.
Well, I guess the whole history of American Thanksgiving is, I think the way that we understand it, the way that we've learned about it. We touched on this on other episodes, how we're kind of I think, a pretty typical average example of relatively well-educated people who really know next to nothing about civics and our
Yeah.
history,
I don't
and
know anything.
we're really rusty on those things, and I feel really embarrassed about it, but at the same time I feel like it's really common, and it's a huge flaw in our education system in general. The fact that we think of, what we think of as being the first Thanksgiving and why we celebrate, and the picture that we have in our head about what the first Thanksgiving was
Yeah.
and why we celebrate is really kind of screwed up.
A little bit.
And like, we're just starting to realize that now when we're in our 30s. And yeah, so I think it is very American central because it is the American holiday that we're celebrating, the last Thursday in November and that whole thing. But yeah, other countries have their version of it.
Of course, and I get that, but it's like Americans don't know about the versions of other countries. I don't know, founding story.
Well, we don't even
the genesis of how they became
right, but we don't even know our own.
No,
apparently,
but we have a skewed version of it,
yes.
right? There's a sense of folklore.
Sure, there's like the story that we're told, yes,
right? And we don't know other countries,
even the story.
But because all these forms of entertainment that are global, but are
centered around
America,
mm-hmm.
It's like the whole world knows about American Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's interesting,
right? And you what really kicked this off for me is our child loves Garfield now, and we were
mm-hmm.
watching Garfield Thanksgiving, and that is a character that has exceeded just American popularity, right? And if someone watches that cartoon episode, it's American Thanksgiving,
right?
There's no, I don't know, Canadian version of that, or Italian or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump the gun. All right. So last week we had an episode with Chris and Sarah of MySpace with You. We appreciate you both coming on. If you're listening to this, hopefully the perseverance of getting a boat is paying off. Hopefully it's smooth sailing. No pun intended.
Pun definitely intended.
No, I didn't. When I was talking, I didn't realize that. But anyways, we had some good positive feedback when it came to that episode, and obviously we couldn't have done it without Chris and Sarah, so we appreciate you guys coming on. I'm sure you'll be on again.
Definitely.
And based on the analytics, people enjoyed listening to it, so hopefully we can make that a reality sometime soon. But I do also want to note that we got another 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that. We appreciate the support. If you would like to support us in that way, if you'd like to juice the Apple algorithms for us, we'd appreciate it. If you give us 5 stars and a quick review on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great. And if you're listening to us for the first time and you want to subscribe to a new podcast, we hope you do. We hope you subscribe to us on whatever podcatcher you are listening to this on. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're listening to this on, we are there, obviously, because you are listening. And we're also on the YouTubes. If that's easier for you to consume your media, we are there. So we appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about Thanksgiving, and we were a little bit more interactive with the episode content when it came to polling people and whatnot on our social media platforms. So if you'd like to hit us up on any of those, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the above. Just hit us up. Why don't you say where we're at?
Sure.
Where we're at when it comes to that.
We're on Facebook at facebook.com/whileshe'snapping, on Instagram at whileshe'snapping, on Twitter at she'snappingpod, or you can email us at whileshe'snapping@gmail.com.
So I noticed last week before the episode, and we don't have to get into detail, but we've been doing this since March, and we've been doing it on a weekly basis. And last week we didn't touch on why we skipped a week previously. And we don't have to give the reasons for it. We just want to let everyone know that 2020 still impacts us.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the radar for us. Um, it's that's just it. It's 2020. We didn't forget about you guys. It just wasn't a good time for us to record. That's
Yeah.
all. Okay.
Yep. 2020 is not done with us yet.
No.
It just keeps throwing the punches.
All right, so let's talk about Thanksgiving. As I said, this is I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe about how this is such a, I don't know, there's an awareness globally of American Thanksgiving. Maybe that's the American in me that is sort of hyping up the recognition of American Thanksgiving. So if I am, please feel free. If this is the first time you've ever heard about American Thanksgiving and you're listening to this from another country, I'd be surprised. And again, maybe that speaks to the American in me, but it just seems so ubiquitous when it comes to, all the media and everything that people consume. I imagine it's hard to hop on social media on American Thanksgiving and not see any sort of commentary about it wherever you're from.
Maybe, but I mean, if you live in another country and your social network isn't, doesn't include a lot of people who live in America, then
it would still
no
be
one else
trending,
is going to be posting.
I think if you're on Twitter.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I guess.
Well, according to the good old Wikipedia, and this is, again, when I didn't realize this, Thanksgiving is a national holiday celebrated on various dates in the U.S., Canada, Brazil, St. Lucia?
I think it's St. Lucia.
Lucia? See,
Yeah.
this is the
don't
American
know.
in me.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a bunch of other territories and countries and whatnot that celebrate their version of Thanksgiving Day. Me, being the stupid American, only thought it was, we had our version and Canada had theirs, and that's it. Apparently not. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. That makes me wonder how the story of American Thanksgiving is taught in other countries. So are other countries aware that America has this Thanksgiving holiday and like generally what it is and what the story is behind it? I guess because we're not even aware that other countries have Thanksgiving. And so it makes me wonder if people in other countries are aware of American Thanksgiving. I think you're right that it's probably more likely that they are aware of the American version than we are of other countries' versions. But then a step further, I wonder how much they know about it. Like, do they know the story of the Pilgrims and the Native Americans and that whole thing? Are they taught? Is U.S. history taught more than the history of other countries and cultures around the world?
It makes me also wonder if it's, the agreed upon term Thanksgiving as their respective countries' founding heritage Genesis story, or if this would be a little bit more badass if a country just adopted the aspect of the modernized version of Thanksgiving and they say, no, we're just going to give thanks for what we have and that we're just celebrating that today. Because there has been sort of this weird right-hand turn from the founding of, well, it's not the founding of America. It's more of like the coming together, quote unquote, of two very different tribes, for lack of a better way to put it.
Sure.
The Europeans.
That's the story.
That's the myth. And that's a nice little gift wrap story for people to indulge in and say, oh, we can relate to that sort of.
It's like a warm and fuzzy.
But now it's more of the focus on be thankful for what you have and for the people around you. And I mean, there are rather elements of that in that myth, but it's certainly not the main, thing to extrapolate from the myth.
Yeah. And I've been, trying to just learn a little bit more about how the holiday has evolved and some of the truth versus the myths that we were taught. And I'm by no means an expert. There's a lot out there that I had no idea was even part of the story. But I think it's worthwhile for any American to dive in a little bit and learn a little bit more because it's really interesting. But apparently, Thanksgiving as we celebrate it now, being, the last Thursday in November and all of that, didn't come about until the time of Lincoln.
I'm reading right here on, of course, Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing the fourth. We have been doing the fourth Thursday of November since 1941. So it hasn't been for that long.
Right. It's not since the Pilgrims.
Right.
Yeah. There was a harvest that was like in October or something in that time period, and it evolved, and there were different reasons and different dates, and different timelines, and it evolved over time, and it didn't become what we know it now as far as the date that we celebrate it on and some of the more modern traditions. Right. That's the thing that I was surprised by, is that it is really a pretty modern holiday, like in the last century, what we know it to be and how we've always known it in our 30 plus years, is a pretty modern thing.
Well, I do think there are good reasons, and we can start to hear about the misappropriated history of Thanksgiving, but there are decent reasons why we don't, at least to children, don't explain the reality of what happened when the Europeans found the land we now know as America, and slaughtered tribes and whatnot. There's a good reason I think we don't teach children that, but I do think there's a responsibility as once you enter probably at the latest high school.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
There should be a sort of grand awakening to the reality of what happened.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
But I guess since we've made that hard right turn and we celebrate it now as a day to give thanks for what we have and for the people around us, I understand the sensitivity towards it. I understand that the root of it, the history behind it, and why it's such something, maybe a stain on American history, why there are some people rather that are so averse to maybe having so much of a focus on it. But at the same time, because of that right-hand turn, I think there is something almost necessary about the modernized version of Thanksgiving, to be thankful for everything you have and for the people around you. So we didn't necessarily, indulge in this too much, and we don't have to. But people that are out there saying boycott Thanksgiving, boycott American Thanksgiving, I understand the essence towards it. I just don't necessarily agree with it because, again, the focus isn't so much on the history anymore. We're not celebrating that. We're celebrating something completely different now.
Yeah, I think you can have both. I think we need to rethink how it's taught, like you said, in the American education system, and we need to stop pretending that it was something that it wasn't, and stop whitewashing it. And I think we can do that while, like you said, maintaining the modern version of it, which is pretty simple. It's a time to be grateful and to celebrate what you have with your friends and family. And most people aren't consciously thinking about the history or the story that we've been told during that celebration. So I think I also completely understand that sentiment. But I think you can't have it both ways. Eventually, I mean, maybe that's a naive, happy-go-lucky way to look at having your cake and eating it too. I don't know, but that's my initial reaction to that.
I mean, I get when we juxtapose this to Columbus Day, because it's sort of the closest thing.
Sure.
In a minor way. It's on Columbus Day, we're not thanking Columbus or
no, but it's the same idea that we've
there's a myth behind it,
right, that we think it's innocent, or we're taught that it was innocent
or
and
peaceful,
or
rather.
Yeah, exactly.
Much like Columbus Day, I don't know any people that are so diehard about Columbus Day that they're like, we need to celebrate what happened with Columbus finding America. People just want the day off. They in here in America, they just enjoy the day off. That's usually the kickoff to fall, and they enjoy having that Monday off. That's all. There's no real intimate or conscious focus on what that holiday signifies.
Right, for the people who aren't impacted by it.
That's what I'm saying. For the vast majority of people here in America, I feel that's the case. You disagree?
Yeah, I mean, white people. That's what you're saying.
Okay,
yeah.
sure. But when it comes to Thanksgiving, I do think there is a thread of similarity to that too. People aren't thinking on Thanksgiving, oh, this
about
is the
story
day
of Thanksgiving
that all the pilgrims and the Native Americans came together, and Sasquatch was it Sasquatch had the corn.
Sasquatch is like Bigfoot.
Oh, who am I thinking of?
Squanto.
Not Sasquatch. Squanto taught them about the corn. Right,
Yeah.
that's the story.
Right, but you know what? That is celebrated and illustrated when kids are young. Like, you think of elementary school plays and stuff that have, like, you wear your pilgrim hat or you make a pilgrim hat craft when you're little. Like, in that sense, we are maintaining and reinforcing that.
But I get it for kids.
But I still feel like,
because
I don't know.
The message for kids is, despite your difference,
right, but like,
come together.
But why do we have to tell that story?
We don't. I'm just saying it's innocuous in its essence for children.
Sure.
But
that's why I feel like that has to be done in conjunction with, like you said, around the high school age.
Yeah, there needs to be an awakening.
You should know what ended up happening to Squanto.
Right.
Because it's
Sasquatch.
not a pretty story. Yeah. Right.
He's around somewhere. No, but again, I don't think people in America are thinking consciously about that myth on Thanksgiving. I think the vast majority of people are stressed out about the day in a non-pandemic world, or even in a pandemic. They're stressed out about the day, needing to get the food done on time and getting the food the days before and the prep. That's what they're thinking of.
Yeah,
and during the meal, we're thinking of each other.
Right. But again, that's except for our Native American communities.
Correct. Yes.
It's a day of mourning. Like,
I get it. And I'm not
and to have other people in your community celebrating on a day that you're mourning your ancestors' genocide is, I feel like that's where it becomes a question of how are we celebrating with those things in mind? Like, we are stressed out about if our turkey is going to be, moist or dry. And meanwhile, we have Native American neighbors who are mourning their ancestors' genocide. So it's kind of, I think you've hit on it, that's the issue.
There is no way to sort of reconcile that, though, right? Because Thanksgiving is, again, the myth has sort of faded. Not that it's still not being pushed, but for the vast majority of people that are celebrating the day, that's not conscious, right? So I understand why people, I understand the pushback and why there needs, and again, I think on Black Friday, according to my iPhone, the next day was National Native American Heritage Day. Mm-hmm. So I think that is an effort to have some sort of recognition, for lack of a better way to put this, to satisfy both sides, even though satisfy is the wrong word, but sort of mend that fence. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Thanksgiving, I can understand why people are saying, I don't understand what the problem is. I'm just giving thanks for everything I have. The whole myth and the two quote unquote tribes coming together isn't even on the minds of people.
Right. But I think the only way to reconcile that is what we were saying before, is then maybe it should never be taught as a feel-good story to kids. Like, maybe kids should just be framed as just that it's a day of thanks, it's a day of being grateful and whatever.
But what separates this from, I think this is important, right? And most kids, like I just said, I as an adult didn't realize there were other countries that had their Thanksgiving. But what if there's a brilliant child out there that says, well, why isn't this celebrated worldwide? Why is it just America?
Then the brilliant child will dive in deeper and
But I
find.
do think,
But I'm saying, but like it could be a part of history in America. Like again, because that the whole story of the first Thanksgiving that we traditionally think of with the Pilgrims, that doesn't even line up with the modern celebration of Thanksgiving being the last Thursday in November and all of that. Like
right.
those are actually two different things. So why do we continue to teach kids the story of the Pilgrims in order to explain why we celebrate Thanksgiving in the way that we do, because they're actually pretty separated. And I think you could still teach the real story of what happened when the Pilgrims came here, maybe later in the curriculum in the high school age, without sort of, telling a not true story to explain a holiday that to most people means something completely different at this point. Like, what's the point of ever having them make the pilgrim hats and doing the plays and all of that?
I get it. And I don't want to just disregard any of that. It's just for me, and this is now where I want to focus to. There's been such a grand shift on people's mentalities when it comes to the day that, I do find some sort of solace, and I say this as a white American, so I have the luxury to be able to not have this stain on my, in terms of genocide from to my ancestors. It was on
Sure.
the behalf of my ancestors, right?
Right.
So when it comes to the day, I'm thinking, I'm very thankful for everybody around me. I'm thankful for everything I have. It's sort of a recognition of how good I have it
Mm-hmm.
and the position that I'm sort of in. Growing up, I never had any unique Thanksgiving traditions. It's pretty boring.
Yeah.
When it comes to the things we did. It was, get the turkey ready, have the green bean casserole, the mashed potatoes, the whatever, stuffing, and watch football or even the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. And that was Thanksgiving for me. It was never about the Pilgrims. It was never about any sort of American heritage or lack thereof. It was just get together, stuff your fucking face, take a nap.
Yeah, but I bet in school it was.
No, I didn't care.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they were talking about me.
Right. You weren't really very engaged in school in general.
When I was young, when I was a kid, first, second, third grade, I don't know that any kid cares.
Yeah.
All they care about is eating.
I just remember I do have memories of learning about it and doing those activities and the crafts and all that.
I'm not saying I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I just didn't care.
Right.
All I cared about was the eating.
When it came to the actual holiday. Yeah.
The focus was not, this is what Squanto was doing today. And
Right.
I don't know, John Smith or whoever.
It's true. I think in the average American family's home, you're not talking about the story of Thanksgiving Thanksgiving with your family. Like you learn about it in school and that's it. But I feel like that's kind of where it can be taught as another piece of American history, and it should be taught in an accurate way. And if that means not teaching about it until the high school age curriculum, then that's when you teach about it.
I mean, I think that would be appropriate. But on that note, do you have any, unique Thanksgiving traditions that you and your family celebrated, or is it just
it's
boring,
gonna be a disappointing answer.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I have the same kind of memories as you. I mean, I did always look forward to, seeing my extended family and everything. And a lot of times we had our family coming to our house. So, I mean, I enjoyed.
Oh, so you had outsiders coming in.
Oh, yeah. So you only celebrated with your immediate
just
family?
The immediate family.
Yeah, we had the aunts, the cousins. I mean, it varied year to year, I think, because I think, also as people get older, kids get married or have boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever and start rotating between different houses. But yeah, I did have my extended family usually over for Thanksgiving, or we went to one of my aunts or uncles' houses. And so I enjoyed that part. And we, as we got a little older, it turned into we would have a game night, board games, whatever, at the end of the day. So that was a fun tradition that we had for a few years. But as far as the actual holiday, it was, cook, eat,
and take
play
a nap.
games, take a nap, and play board games.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, we at best had my grandma there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It was just the five of us usually, or six if my grandmother was there, and we just chill out all day. I mean, that was not atypical of my family to just do stuff with the immediate people in the
Mm-hmm.
household, but I do remember one time. It was the only time this has ever happened, and it was back in high school when I was in my hardcore stoner days, and I said to myself, I think I need to get high for Thanksgiving. I didn't eat any more than
Really?
I thought I was going to. Yeah, it was
That
just
must have been disappointing.
it wasn't even unique.
Yeah.
I thought I was so cool. Gonna get high on Thanksgiving. Nothing happened. I just ate the normal plate and probably again took a nap.
Fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest memory of Thanksgiving that I had. Having this plan. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hype myself up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. No, but I do remember as a kid the Macy's Day Parade was a big thing, and I haven't watched that since I was a kid.
That was never really a thing in my house.
It's still going,
Oh, I know, but I mean, we never really watched it.
which is crazy because Macy's is. I'm surprised they're even in business. This is probably the biggest thing for them.
That's true.
Thanksgiving and Black Friday.
It's probably the thing that sets them apart from all of the other retailers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. And what happens when they go out of business? Because it's going to happen.
Well, someone else will take over the parade.
But it's called the
Like
Macy's
the Amazon
Thanksgiving
Day Parade
It's
or
true.
something.
Bezos Parade. So no unique traditions. I'm surprised.
That sounds like a good opportunity to plug shopping locally for the holidays, if possible.
Yeah, when did Black Friday become such a thing?
I don't remember it being that big of a thing when I was growing up. I mean, I knew it was a thing. There were Black Friday sales. I knew that was the day that you could get good deals on things, and that's when most
did you
people
become aware of this? That's what I want to know.
Well, once I probably like my late teens, early 20s, like when I really started buying gifts for people. You know, I was like buying a gift for my boyfriend, buying a gift for my parents, whatever. And I've always been a deal shopper. I'm not like an extreme couponer, but
Right.
I love a good deal, and I will wait for something to go on sale to buy it. But I've also never been, I didn't go shopping in person on Black Friday until we started dating.
I was so clueless to Black Friday this entire time that I had a job at a CD store. This is how old I am. I think it was back in 2005.
You used to jam out to Kelly Clarkson, right?
I didn't jam out to it. I just know the album front to back.
Because it played all the time.
That's all they played.
You were secretly jamming out.
The Lindsay Lohan album, I think that's it. They just constantly played those two albums.
What's the time? Is this like early 2000s? Okay. Yep.
And they used to have a work calendar up for when people want to request days off. You just write in. And the boss on Black Friday wrote, "Don't even think about it." And I put my name in because I said, "Oh, that's funny. Whatever. I'm not going to be here.
Why?
I'm not here. Thanksgiving, I was going to go away. I think to my ex-girlfriend's. That she had family in Maine.
Oh, so you're going for the whole weekend?
And I'm not going to be. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And he said, "Dude, you can't take that day off." And I said, "Why?" He said, "It's Black Friday." I was like, "What the fuck is Black Friday?"
How old were you? Like
I had to have
17?
been 18, 19.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I had no idea.
That's crazy.
And he said it's the biggest retail day of the year. He thought I was kidding. No, I didn't know what the fuck Black Friday was.
You lived under a rock.
That was my first experience with Black Friday. So I ended up working it.
Yeah.
Got there at 5 a.m. People lined up. This is a CD store. Lined up around. What the fuck is this? And that was it. I had no idea or clueless to the aspect of Black Friday. And you're right. When we started dating, it was a thing. We went to Walmart,
at midnight.
Midnight.
Right. That was one of the years we had a game night with my family, and we just stayed up late playing board
Right.
games, and then we left their house and went straight to Walmart at midnight.
And then we went across town to go to a different mall to buy stuff at Macy's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was ridiculous. Yeah.
I
since then, nothing.
yeah, I'm all set. That was our one Black Friday experience, and it felt gross, and I hated it. It wasn't worth it.
This is why I do my Christmas shopping in October.
Well, now it's Black Friday is like the entire week and into
Well, this
Cyber
year,
Monday.
it
Yeah,
was
but
the entire month.
that's true. But even so, I feel like it's just the whole weekend now. Black Friday sales, especially online.
Yeah.
Because it used to be Black Friday was in-store only deals for that one day.
Unless you
And
want
then-
a TV, it's whatever.
Yeah, unless it's something big. And then Cyber Monday was, the Monday after. But now I feel like both of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday have kind of just like morphed together into
Yeah.
the same thing, and there's just deals the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So
whatever.
so now Small Business Saturday. I said ball.
Yeah.
So Small Business Saturday is the day after Black Friday. So
Right.
there was a bunch of small businesses running sales this weekend, but I think it's harder for them because a lot of them don't have the online capabilities or are able to do free shipping and stuff. So it's not competitive, but it's worth it, I think, if you can, to shop local
I agree.
this year more than ever.
Oh yeah. All right. That being said, let's take a break right here. I think we've indulged enough into the aspect of Thanksgiving, all things Thanksgiving. Let's take a break. We'll go over the polls, and I'm sure we'll debate about them.
Yeah.
Hang tight.
All right, so we did a few polls, not as many as I would have liked. I was hoping to do more of like a bracket, like a competition bracket style. But once again, Facebook was not cooperating. So if you are interested in participating in our polls, you need to follow us on Instagram because I feel like that's the only place it's going to be from now on.
Reliably.
Yeah, reliably. So we, over the years, attending Thanksgiving with different, between our two families, extended families, having some Friendsgivings, there have been some...
Oh, that's something we never touched on.
Friendsgiving. Yeah, we did that for a few years, and that was great.
Ah.
Oh, go
All
ahead.
right.
We can touch on it before we get into the
No,
polls.
I just that's fun
Yeah.
because you're legit being thankful for your friends.
Right. Because of the people that you've chosen
Yes.
in your life.
Around you.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
We had a few good years of Friendsgiving when we lived in an apartment with a few of our friends who
Yeah, we
lived
went
on
up
the
to
other.
Boston.
That's right. We did
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
All right, good.
So anyway, and I feel like in those settings, oftentimes when, especially I brought up Friendsgiving because I feel like that's a time where people, as adults come together as friends for a holiday that they've celebrated separately for their whole lives with their families. And they
Right.
may have different traditions or have dishes that have always been prepared different ways. And someone brings a dish out and they're like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Also, it's a good time to actually take advantage of a potluck because in my experience, potlucking Thanksgiving is a no-no. You
Yeah.
can bring a side or something
Right.
or a dessert, but if someone's like, yo, I'll bring the cranberry sauce, you bring the stuffing, I feel like that is a no-no.
yeah,
when
I
it
feel
comes
like
to
it's
Thanksgiving.
usually like the host prepares the majority of the meal, the turkey and the main sides.
You
And
can
then-
bring your weird fucking cheese and crackers if you
Yeah,
want.
someone else brings like the picky stuff, like the cheese and crackers, the pickles and olives, and desserts. I feel like desserts are the thing that
Oh, yeah.
usually are like the potluck items that come in. And someone's always the person who brings the wine.
But if you have a Friendsgiving, it's
Everybody
implied,
potluck.
yo, we're potlucking this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, right. But I think it's a really cool opportunity to see how people, prepare a lot of
Right.
because the dishes are the same. It's a lot of the traditional, the same food, but how people prepare them and their versions are really interesting.
But if you're hosting Friendsgiving, I think it's assumed you're making the turkey.
Oh yeah, definitely. So one of the sides that we've always had debates about with our friends and even within our families is stuffing or dressing. I didn't even know that was a thing. Your dad introduced me to that.
Yeah,
the term
my
dressing.
grandmother was hardcore about it's dressing.
Yeah,
it's not stuffing. It's
right.
dressing.
So do you know the technical difference?
I do not.
So I recently
is dressing cooked in the turkey or
opposite.
Something? Okay.
Yeah. So it's the same dish.
Well, that makes sense.
It's called stuffing once it's stuffed in the turkey, and it's called dressing if it's just baked on the side.
So legit, the stovetop stuffing
is dressing, unless you stuff it in the turkey.
But if it's just boxed a bowl
right.
with water, and you microwave it or
whatever you do with it,
that's
dressing. It's dressing.
That's weird. But it makes sense because you're stuffing the turkey.
Exactly. Yeah. So stovetop, the box stuffing. I know I never was a fan of that growing up. Didn't like it at all. It was my least favorite Thanksgiving dish. But we have some friends and family who love stovetop stuffing, and to the point where when I've made homemade stuffing, and your dad did this too, wouldn't touch it if it wasn't stovetop.
Right.
So that was the first poll I did. What is your preference, box stuffing or homemade stuffing? And it was close. It was 54% for boxed and 46% for homemade.
It's so salty.
I know. I like put cranberries in it, or
celery.
Apples or sausage,
celery.
Yeah, well,
you need
that's
celery.
Is there not celery in stovetop stuffing?
But it's soft. I need a certain degree of crunch.
Yeah.
So I know it's legit. That is dehydrated celery that's been in a box for God knows how long.
It's I feel like it's just seasoned. It's bread. It's like small cubes of bread, and then dehydrated spices. And there's no other ingredients in it.
Dehydrated celery.
Yeah. I will say that the stovetop will do for me for Thanksgiving sandwiches, for leftovers.
Sure, fine.
Yeah.
But I need the cranberry in there, the legit pieces, or
we didn't even do that one.
The little chunks of apple. I need that. I need legit stuffing.
Oh, you mean I thought you were going off on a cranberry sauce
I'm
tangent.
talking about the stuffing.
Within the stuffing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I need actual ingredients.
Yes.
That are. Doesn't it even necessarily have to be fresh? Because I do think there's an aspect of, if you make it, it doesn't have to be prepared and whatnot that same day. But for me, yes,
homemade.
When I grew up, we did have the stovetop, so that's what I remember. But when you flip the switch to the legit stuff, how can you go back? It's like having a fine beer after Bud Light, and you're saying, I always want to have Bud Light forever.
I feel like part of it is probably nostalgia. It's because most of us did grow up on stovetop.
But it's so fucking salty.
I know. But
you can't get over that.
Remember, there was the year that I made Thanksgiving for your family when we were dating, and your dad refused to try my dressing.
He was a stubborn person.
He was, and he was very particular about his food. So what did he like? Did he like stovetop?
Yeah.
Okay, right. And so, but then he did try it, and maybe he was just being kind. But he told me it was the best that he's ever had. I mean, compared to the only other one that he had was stovetop.
Yeah.
But he loved it. But he really did eat a whole plateful. He loved it.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So he was always that way about my cooking.
But I feel this, and maybe we'll get into this, but I feel the same way about cranberry sauce. I grew up on the gelatin from the can, and you see the rim lines of the can on the fucking gelatin mold of cranberry sauce. And to me, that was cranberry sauce until I had legit cranberry sauce. And I said, I'm never going back to this. This is gross. This is gelatin. This is disgusting.
I wish that I had remembered to put this as one of the polls, because I have a bone to pick with you about the cranberry sauce.
Why?
Because we did order our sides this year from a friend of mine is a chef at a local restaurant.
Small business.
And the food is delicious. And so we got this cranberry jam that she had on the menu.
It was awesome.
And it was amazing. And you could tell it had like the whole cranberries in it, but it was, I feel like you can't replace that with the canned cranberry sauce that has the whole cranberries. Like, it's not the same thing. So we ran out of the cranberry jam that we had ordered with our meal from her restaurant, the good stuff. And then you went out to get more cranberry sauce for our leftover sandwiches.
Yeah.
And you came home and you were so excited. You're like, hey, I got the one with the whole cranberries in it.
No,
so it's like the one that we had. Okay.
Nope, not what I
Did
said.
you say?
I said I do not like the gelatin, so
And
I
said
got
no.
the kind with the cranberries.
I said no. If it's not gonna be the homemade, like the jam like she made for us with the whole cranberries in it, made from scratch with the citrus and all this other stuff in it, if it's not gonna be that, then it has to be, I want a cylinder of cranberry jelly.
Gross.
On a plate with the ridges, so I know where to cut it. Like, that's
gross.
No,
For me, I want the closest
it's one or the
thing.
other.
No, I want the closest thing to the real thing.
No, I disagree.
No,
Yeah, so
I
that's
could
a
never
poll
go
we should have
back.
done.
I could never go back.
Oh, so now I have to
now.
make homemade cranberry jam every year.
Just hire your friend
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, you're on call.
Toss her like $50. Probably cost her like $10 to make.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, I mean,
take-home.
you can buy fresh cranberries and make it. It's probably not
I don't
that
wanna do
involved,
that.
but yeah, hers is probably better.
That's what I'm
than
saying.
anything
She knows
I
what she's
can
doing.
make.
She's the culinary expert.
She is. Yeah.
Who am
So
I?
that was great. But yes, the cranberry sauce for me, if it's not legit homemade cranberry sauce from someone who knows what they're doing, then I want the jelly cylinder all the way.
So we are in disagreement with the masses about stuffing.
Yeah. But not by a lot. That was a very close one.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Stovetop gross. All right.
So the
continue.
next one was not as close. And it was funny. Like, some of the people who voted, I was like, yeah, I knew that you were going to say that. It was about yams and marshmallows.
Mm-hmm.
I never grew up having marshmallows on
Same.
the yams.
Never
Ever.
did yams.
And
Never did sweet potatoes.
Well,
It
we
was
did.
always-
We would have some version. My mom would either do like whole baked sweet potatoes, or she would do mashed yams, or
Nope. It was
Yep.
always just mashed potatoes.
yeah. So yeah, the whole idea of like the sweet potato casserole or the yam casserole with the
Yep.
marshmallows on top was totally foreign to me until our Friendsgivings, and we had a friend who put it out, and I was like, what is this? Like,
How is that not dessert?
I know, it's way too sweet.
It's like a form of dessert. I
Yeah,
feel.
and some people just load it up with marshmallows, and it's basically like marshmallows with a little bit of yams in it. And I remember that one of our friends, they're like, no, they would not eat the yams without the marshmallows. They were
What?
so So this one was 64% said no, they don't put marshmallows on their yams.
Oh, so
Yeah.
the
They're
no
in agreement.
marshmallow.
36% said yes.
Oh, wow.
So most people do not put marshmallows on their yams. But I do know several people who feel very strongly that you cannot serve yams on Thanksgiving without marshmallows on top.
Yeah. You and I never did sweet potatoes or yams for Thanksgiving. We didn't this year.
No.
We just had mashed potatoes
Well, we had the casserole, broccoli casserole.
and mashed
That's about-
potatoes.
yeah.
But I'm saying we never did
Well, I
yams.
used to do, my family, we would have mashed potatoes, butternut squash, green bean casserole,
Yes.
and sometimes yams.
No, we just did. My dad loved butternut squash.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Until I put it in a lasagna. Remember that?
Yeah. You threw me off.
Sorry.
Green bean casserole,
Mhm.
of course. It's got to be made with cream of chicken, not
Oh,
this
God.
cream of mushroom shit.
No, that's what it's made with. And you wouldn't even know the difference.
Of course I would.
No, you wouldn't.
My palate has been
No, your palate sucks.
so used to the chicken that I would know
Oh, God.
the disgusting.
Yeah, for context, for anyone who doesn't know, he hates mushrooms.
I hate the texture of mushrooms.
Right, but in the cream of mushroom soup, especially when it's mixed in with the green bean casserole, you don't get the texture. The mushrooms aren't, it's not like
Listen,
whole mushrooms you're
I
biting
don't-
into.
I don't want that.
It's just
in
the
my
flavor.
mouth.
It's just the flavor.
I don't want that in my mouth.
Okay.
Green bean casserole, and you have to have the onion crisps.
Yeah,
on
that's part of the
top.
casserole.
Yeah, you gotta do that. Never yams. We weren't yam people. Wasn't my thing. Anyways,
So I wonder if if it's a regional thing or just
well, it
a
makes sense
tradition within a
because
family.
it's autumn, right? And sweet potatoes.
No, but I mean specifically the yams are definitely a traditional Thanksgiving side dish that you guys just didn't happen to do. But about the marshmallows, I wonder if that's a regional thing. Maybe if there's, people in the South maybe are more. That seems to me like maybe that's a Southern version.
Do they
I don't know
load
why.
it up with brown sugar?
Yes.
See, that sounds like
It's
a dessert
so
to
sweet.
me.
I know.
I
So I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
But I'm not a fan. Okay, and then we did pie. So
Dessert time.
yeah, apple pie or pumpkin pie. And I thought this one was going to be pretty close, but it wasn't. It was 77% for apple and 23% for pumpkin.
See, that I find that to be weird because maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like apple pie is more of no, because we're in the fall season. So
apples are fall.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's more of a Christmas dessert. I would relate it more to Christmas and pumpkin pie more to Thanksgiving.
I think they're both fall.
You're right.
Yeah.
But I would pick apple pie,
Mm-hmm.
but I would relate pumpkin pie more
To
to Thanksgiving, and apple pie is good whenever.
True. Yeah.
You know?
Pumpkin is very fall.
I can't have that at any other
time. Yeah, I hear
it
you.
has to be at Thanksgiving time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can get away with it at Christmas, but no one's making that.
We had
rather,
pumpkin
baking.
pie at Christmas.
Yeah, but I feel like that is such an unpopular dish. Christmas.
I feel
No?
like apple pie and pumpkin pie were our standard desserts for both holidays.
No, my mom made the chocolate pudding.
Chocolate
pie.
cream pie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was always that.
Yeah.
It was
We had that
never
sometimes
anything
too.
else.
But again, like I said earlier, I feel like desserts were usually the potluck element.
Yeah.
So people would bring different things. So
Yeah.
dessert was less consistent for me for the holidays.
Yeah, I'll fuck with apple pie anytime.
Well, and at Christmas, of course, there's Christmas cookies. There's always somebody who
That's what I'm
brings a
saying.
beautiful tray of Christmas cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie is the least requested thing on Christmas. No one wants that. I'm sure people will eat it, but it's not requested. Whereas on Thanksgiving, someone is probably like, yo, give me some of that pumpkin
I like
pie.
cheesecake for Christmas.
Okay, fine. But it's not pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin cheesecake.
Fine. But it's
now
not
I'm just
pumpkin
getting
pie.
hungry.
You know what I'm saying? Give me a fucking 3-layer cake
Sure.
on Christmas.
Right. I hear what you're saying. Pumpkin pie is a more traditional Thanksgiving dessert,
What are
specific
they?
to Thanksgiving.
The pizzalias?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
give
that's
me
an
those
Italian,
on Christmas.
Yeah.
Don't give me those on fucking Thanksgiving.
Right. No, those are a holiday.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I mean, they look like snowflakes.
Right.
Yeah.
With the powdered sugar. So apple pie one.
Yeah. I mean, I always liked apple pie growing up. I think pumpkin pie has grown on me more, but I still would prefer apple too.
Fair.
Okay. The last one we did was for your turkey. Do you prefer dark meat or white meat? What do you think it was?
It has to be dark.
It was 50-50.
Wow.
I know. I was surprised too. I'm like, so I guess maybe I didn't. Sorry, Mom. Maybe the turkey I grew up on was kind of dry because I never liked the white meat. It was always super dry. Like I had to load it up with gravy.
Yeah.
So I always went for the dark meat. I always called a leg or a wing or
yeah.
something because I knew that part was going to be the best.
What's the fattiest?
Yeah. Yeah. Dark meat is generally more tender.
Oh, it's terrible for you.
Yeah. Well, whatever. It's the
Oh,
holiday.
yeah. No, I don't care. Just saying.
I feel like the white meat, the turkey breast is better for sandwiches, for leftovers.
Yeah. But I'll fuck with both.
Yeah.
For sandwiches.
You
That's
went right for the
surprising.
leg this
Oh,
year.
Yeah. That's surprising. I bet you my sister said dark meat
I don't remember.
because that was a thing growing up,
You guys
fighting for the dark meat.
Really? Yeah.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah, there's
And
always less of the dark meat to go around.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's luxurious. But yeah, at the end of the day, turkey's turkey, and yes, it's the white meat is drier than the dark, but at the end of the day, now I don't really care. Just give me whatever. But this is legit a thing. I didn't realize this. There are some families that do ham for Thanksgiving and not turkey.
That blew my mind when you told me that.
How is that possible that people
We always
will do
did
that? Ham's
ham
for Christmas.
Yes, and Easter. We did ham on Easter and Christmas.
But if people do a Christmas turkey, that's not weird.
That's true. Well,
right?
Thanksgiving is sometimes called Turkey Day
No, I get it.
for short.
The vast majority of people are having turkey for sure.
Yeah. But
People
I feel
are
like that's why
passing
it's
out
so
turkeys.
weird because the turkey, like, even though ham is a very common dish for Christmas, it's not like people don't call it ham day. Like,
No,
it's not
Christmas.
it's not synonymous with the holiday. Like, the
Well,
dish
there's
is
other
more
shit
flexible.
going on
Sure,
Christmas.
you're right. Yes, it's because it's about more than just the meal.
Yeah.
Right. Thanksgiving is entirely about the
You're
meal.
just eating.
But I'm saying turkey is just synonymous with Thanksgiving. They're like one and the same.
Believe me, I would be happy if we made fucking pizzas
I know.
on Christmas.
Yeah.
We should make pizzas.
Well, we're gonna have leftover Chinese food apparently.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if we get the
Definitely.
majority of sushi, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird to me that people have ham. In fact, one of our friends has this like makeshift lasagna for Thanksgiving.
I have heard of that. But
That's more of a family tradition. For
right,
him.
and I feel like lasagna. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like it's almost served as a first course.
I don't know.
Maybe it's in addition to a turkey or a ham too. But I do know lasagna on. I don't know if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas though.
I don't know.
There's one of our close friends does lasagna.
Oh, he does it on Thanksgiving.
It is Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yeah. And doesn't he put eggs on it?
No, he
Do you
puts, I think, Doritos on top.
No, that's a different friend who's from the South.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's like the taco salad. That's
Yeah.
not lasagna. Okay, so he makes taco salad on Thanksgiving. That's
Oh.
a Southern thing
I
that
thought it
he
was
brought
like-
from Kansas.
Oh, okay.
The taco salad.
Oh.
We gave him a lot of crap about that, but I mean, it's delicious, but it's not a Thanksgiving food. Yes, so that was a Friendsgiving first.
Yes.
Taco salad from him. But no, our other friend does lasagna. It's an Italian thing.
Did not know this.
And he puts hard-boiled eggs on top.
No.
And that's like the way they've always had it. I'd never heard of that. And we
No,
grew
I
up in the
hate-
same place. Like, we all grew up in the same town.
Well, I'm not Italian.
I
so
know, me
I don't
either.
know
Well, I
these
have
things.
some Italian in me, but I didn't grow up in a,
No.
Italian family in the way that they did. But yeah, apparently that's a thing. Lasagna with hard-boiled eggs on top.
Well, if you have any weird or unique, I don't want to say weird because that's
That might be
almost
weird to
insulting.
us, but it might be
Yeah,
totally not
unique
weird.
or
Just unfamiliar.
atypical, traditions when it comes to your meals, when it comes to the way you celebrate whatever on Thanksgiving. I'd be really interested to hear about it because the way I see it, it's probably pretty rudimentary. Wake up, watch football or do whatever you got to do, prepare the meal, whatever, watch the parade, and that's it. You prepare for Black Friday in a non-pandemic world. But if you have some traditions that you want to share with us, we're open to hear them. Hit us up on our Facebook, on our Instagram, or on our email, anything. We'd love to hear it. And I know the holiday is sort of past. It's out of sight, out of mind. We're gearing for Christmas. But if you want to take a break from the Christmas rush and just talk to us about Thanksgiving, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, especially anyone who's international.
Oh, yeah.
The first half of the episode, we really last week's episode was a little bit on the longer side, because there were 4 of us having the conversation, which was awesome. But we did want to, take a little bit of a breather and have more of a lighter topic this week. So that's why we did like the silly polls and had this whole second half just be kind of fun. But we did want to touch on the history and everything in the first half, and we're really genuinely curious to hear from people who aren't from America
Yes.
on some of your thoughts on that and how it's perceived in other parts of the world.
Well, that being said, next week we're going to click on the switch and get heavier again. You want to talk about on letting go? Talk about the aspect of letting go of shit?
Sure. So we thought that this would be a relevant topic in any holiday season because I feel like people are often faced with, the pressure of seeing certain family members or feeling like they have to go to a million places and please other people and all of that. And it can be very stressful. And I think at some point, in your life or with certain people, you get to a point where you have to make a decision of if you're going to let it go, or if you're really going to try to keep spinning your wheels and try to, salvage the relationship or the friendship or whatever it is. So I thought that was a relevant time to talk about that. especially this year, in the year of COVID, and with all the tension in the political atmosphere, this might be especially relevant for a lot of our listeners. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that next week. I also wanted to mention, not to bury the lead, but I wanted to congratulate you, Adam, on your 4 years of successful run with your other podcast, South of the Six. You've just posted your farewell 200th episode last week, letting go of that project. And so that's another kind of angle that I think we'll touch on, of letting go, not just of people or relationships, but of things, hobbies, phases in your life, things like that. And so the timing is good for that too. But
yeah, it was a fun run.
It was
what got me here now. So we'll talk more about that next week. But yeah, we'll break it down. If you have any stories that you want to talk about how you needed to break away from something that was important to you, whether it was for reasons for your own safety or sanity, or just something that you wanted to shift gears on and move on from, it could be that harmless too. We'd like to hear it, and you can be as anonymous as you want to be. You can be as detailed as you want to be. We don't name names anyway. We won't reveal your identity either way. But if there's something that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear it. That being said, you can hit us up on our socials. Socials. You can hit us up on our social media.
So we're on Facebook at facebook.com/whileshe'ssnapping.
Yes.
On Instagram at While She's Napping, or on Twitter at She's Napping Pod, or you can send us an email at whileshe'snapping@gmail.com.
Yeah, email would be the best way to keep anonymous when it comes to this. So if you want to do that, that's cool. Anyways, so we'll see you next week. We'll be dropping that on Monday morning, as we do every episode. So till then, take it easy.
Bye.